Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm James,
And I'm Enya.
and this is the Truth and Beauty podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest, Haggi from Melbourne, Victoria. Hello, Haggi.
G'day guys, how you going?
Good. How are you?
Good to be with you today. Another day in paradise, you know me, brother.
Yeah, of course, mate. It's got to be. So,
Absolutely.
So, Haggi, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Look, and just before we start talking, we're going to be talking about things that are lawful and legal, and some people may misconstrue that as giving advice. I'm currently studying law, but it doesn't mean that I'm doing it in the traditional method of going to university for a bar degree. I'm studying law through my own findings. Reading certain dictionaries that have certain definitions of words, and I'm finding out the truth in the scam and the lies. So I'm not offering any kind of legal advice per se. Okay, I'm not a lawyer.
Yep.
We're just basically going to have a discussion and have a talk about our ideas, because as far as I know, free speech is still legal and allowed. So yeah, it's just basically our opinions. It's not to say that, this is the way it is or how it must be and how it's got to be changed and forced into, right?
Yep.
So with that being said, who am I? Well, I'm a Romanian-born soul child, and I use that term loosely. I'll explain why later. My parents were Romanian, of course. And we immigrated, we escaped actually from Romania in the mid-70s, mid to late 70s, and eventually migrated over to Australia because they were taking in a lot of people to basically try and expand their population.
Yep.
So landed in Australian shores late 79, I basically went through most of my schooling, most of my primary school, all of my high school. Basically, did a commercial cookery course, stayed in the hospitality field of restauranting and management and
Cool.
even manufacturing. And then I went out on my own, a couple of businesses, and along the way, of course, life throws you curveballs. And basically, after 2 marriages, I've ended up with the life of lots of experiences. It's brought me down a path of many different understandings, whether it's spiritual, sacred geometry, ley lines, old magic type stuff,
Yeah, cool.
right down to current conspiracy theories of elite people and global control and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of interesting stuff out there, and one of the things that's always been fancy to me is law, oddly enough. I've even wanted to do a part-time course at some stage earlier in my life, of course, and possibly even got in my bar and become a lawyer, because that kind of stuff interested me. And in many ways, I'm glad that I didn't, because what I found is going down that path is basically a license of following a certain doctrine of speak and talk, and you're bounded by rules that is portrayed in a game that is not meant for the average man or woman to win.
Because what language are they?
And there's many. Well, you see, they're speaking a very different language. The average person would think they're speaking English, but in actual fact, the words that they use is defined and. Okay, so let me strike that for a sec. everything, words that are used, you can either understand them to be English or symbolically they can represent a different style of language, if you will. And the words that they use and the context of their documents is all legalese, which is a fiction language, right? It's a fictitious reality that is only true if you choose to believe it. It's a fugazi. It's fairy dust. You don't use, and it's gone. Okay. And I know it's a crazy idea and a crazy concept, but
fiction as opposed to fact.
Well, you see, the thing is, the laws around the world currently are written in commerce law. Okay. So what that is, it's a duty and payment that is constantly being exchanged. Okay, either a service or a product and a payment. Okay, yep. So it's a contract law.
Contract.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's got nothing to do with men and women. Okay, because if you look around at most of the fines being handed out, they're all victimless crime.
Yep.
So what did I break? Who did I hurt? Right? So it's all victimless crime, and they're all bounties of war. Okay, because that's another thing that people don't understand. We're currently under international treaties that has bound the Australian so-called government to pay a levy, if you will, a tax to a foreign body, another contract, okay, and we don't know about. And a prime example of that is celebrating Australia Day, right? So what people don't realise is back in 1906, there was an event called the Great White Fleet. Now, the Great White Fleet was a combined naval exercise of the American and British Navy, right, where they painted their naval ships all white, okay, and to kind of demonstrate, because there was a lot of global turmoil and, you know, hostility and uncertainty, to show the world their might. That was the narrative that they played,
yeah.
Right? So when you watch MSM, you know, they play a narrative, but what's the real reason behind it, right? So the real reason behind it was the British monarchy owed a lot of debt for all of the past wars that they had taken a part in, okay? And the bankers are knocking on their door saying, accounts due, you need to pay. So they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go around to all of our Commonwealth countries, right, and introduce a tax onto them, okay? And they started off in New Zealand, then they came to Australia, okay, and in 1906, 1907, right, Australia signed 7 Hague treaties, okay? So the Hague Treaty, you can look it up, right? It's a payment, right, of duty.
The Hague Treaty.
Yeah, right? And it's like a war tax.
Yeah.
Correct, right? Because that's where the documents were signed to make it, that's where the international law courts are, at The Hague.
Yep.
Okay? To make it official.
Netherlands, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
So they signed that in 1906, 1907, right? And the contract was taken into effect on the 26th of January, 1910. And we have been celebrating that day, our enslavement, as our celebration of freedom. We're a country and nation. We're celebrating paint, right?
What? So that tax on the 26th of January 1910 implied that we have to pay the Commonwealth a certain amount of tax.
Yeah, that's the start date of the contract.
Yeah.
Right? So think about it. You went out and you got a loan, right? Like a hire purchase. They gave you the goods up front. Yeah, enjoy it. Now you're going to start paying. So that date is when you started paying your installments. That's when the contract took effect. let's go. The contract is active now. You gotta pay your dues, brother. Right? So that was the narrative, that was the truth. And they told Australia, hey, let's celebrate Australia Day on the 26th. Everyone, let's put a snag on the barbie. You know, Paul Hogan turned it into a shrimp on the barbie, you know, to bring the Americans over.
Well, it wasn't only, it's only been since the 90s that Australia Day has been entrenched in law, it's been a national holiday though, isn't that right?
Look, probably 80s.
Yeah.
Right?
80s, 90s. Yeah.
You know, I can't remember the 70s so much because, like I said, I arrived at 79. But yeah, pretty much, you know, we've been celebrating Australia Day ever since we landed here. And, you know, me not knowing anything, I was only, 9 at the time. You know, I just went along with everyone. I even partied with my family when Bob Hawke won because, hey, they were happy about it. You know?
And obviously, looking back, you're not happy about it? Or?
Oh, no, of course not. He's a traitor. He put into law the Australia Act, which is the final nail in the coffin. That replaces the Constitution.
Was he the one that sold us off?
Well, Gough Whitlam did, right? Well, you know, all of that stuff, what happened in the 70s, that triggered it in 1973.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
And yeah, Bob Hawke brought in the Australia Act. Yeah, and that's the new Australian Constitution. And everyone said, yay. No one asked for it. There was no referendum. That's the only way you can change the Constitution. Yeah.
True.
Can you see that? Yeah. Can you see it? Is it too bright?
There you go. The Constitution, Australian Constitution.
Yeah. So I recommend to everyone to go to your local federal member and ask for a pocket-sized version of the Constitution.
Okay, why is that?
Anyone can walk in off the street. Well, because it's got a lot of laws in there that are bound to have effect on your freedoms. You know, like I know we probably can't talk about the events of the past 2 years, but there's a clause in there that basically protects your right to not be forced to do anything that you don't want to, right? And that's protected in there. So if this is federal law, then I'm protected. It's very simple. Oh, but this is the state of it. Yeah, but hang on a sec. There's also another, section in here that says, well, when the law of the state isn't the same as the law of this, then it doesn't stand.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So it has to be on equal par, right?
Yes.
You can't go under that level. Yeah. So, and it's really simple. You don't have to argue, don't have to get angry,
Yep. All right. Well, Haggi, leading on to the next point, what is the... I remember you telling me a certain metaphor or allegory for the birthing process, how when you're born, you're created to be a corporation.
Sure. You're a dead body, and I'll explain how that works. So, because this is Admiralty law and everything to do with the sea, right? Every single individual, every person, and again I use that term loosely, is a corporation, is a dead entity, is lost at sea, right? Until you basically claim to say, the trick, the jig's up, right? I'm not lost at sea, I'm here standing on land, right? And moving forward. But because everything has got to do with the sea, right? Think about everything that's got to do when the birthing process happens, right? Or when you're born, right? There's the breaking of the waters, right? You go to the delivery room or the birthing unit, right? What happens when a ship comes into harbour with the product? It goes and births, right? So there's a lot of similarities, right? And they're there to deliver the product. And where's the woman go? To the delivery ward, right?
Yep.
Because you're delivering a product. That's why cars, buses, trucks, ships have female names, because they carry the product,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
They don't have men names because men can't carry the product. On their backs they can, not naturally, not within them,
Yep.
right? All of these buses, ships, they carry the product within them, right?
Ah, yes.
So, 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 everything has got to do with Admiralty law. Now there are many interesting things that happens during the delivery, which is why everyone that's born under the sun has the same rights, and they're called inalienable rights. And the reason for that is what's the first thing that happens when a baby is born, right? When the head starts breaking through, right? It's called the crowning, right?
Yep. So we're
Right.
sovereign,
So every head that comes through gets a crown on top of it, right? That's why we're all royal. We're all sovereign. We all have the same rights. Not just because you're born under that roof, you have more rights than me.
Yep.
You're just maybe more privileged. Maybe you have more money than I do, right? Or your family does, but it doesn't mean you have more rights than I do, right? So yeah, and everything that is derived from our current life has got to do with the water system, right? Think of banking. What's a bank do, right? Think of a river. What's a river do? What's a river bank do, right? It guides the currency,
Yeah, the currency.
right? The
Yep.
flow, right? Everything has got to do with water, right? In this commercialized world, right?
Okay.
Keep your head above water, right? So on and so forth. There are so many, terms, right?
And why water, Haggi? What's so special? Like, why does it all come back to water?
Okay, because you see, there are different jurisdictions. Okay, the jurisdiction of the sea, okay, doesn't have many laws, right? It's basically if you're on the sea and you see a ship, there's no one around, right? And you hook it up to your boat and you hang around for a little bit longer and no one pops up, well, the boat's yours.
Oh.
Right? That's the law of the sea. It's abandoned and lost at sea. Right? It's unclaimed.
Yeah.
It's unclaimed property.
Ah.
Right? It's a pirate's paradise, basically.
Okay.
Right?
So if we are unclaimed property, where does our estate go to, and what's it used for by the government?
Well, they claim your estate, right? And they claim you to lose your trustee status, right?
Yep.
So you're no longer the beneficiary, right? And they're trying to claim everything onto you. Okay.
Okay.
So just to help people understand that, because you kind of hit on a little point. You see, the reason why nobody has any real power is because everyone is a ward of the state. Okay? Your identity, which is created from your birth, and we didn't touch on the topic why you're dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's just finish that off. So you're born, right? And through comes the life portion of you, right? And they cut the cord, okay? But guess what? Everyone that's born is one of a twin, right? Because when they cut the cord, your placenta is your second half of you, right? So that's the dead entity that they record and claim to be you, right? Because they have the physical DNA, right? Because they keep that. They say they use it. They say they use it. Oh, we'll just get rid of it for you, right? So because they've got your DNA, right? They're claiming it. You didn't claim your DNA. Your parents didn't do it for you, right?
Oh, yeah.
So on the original record, okay, which is why you have two birth certificates, right? You have a born record of live birth, right? Which is where you come out and they write, oh, the time, the this, the that, right?
Yep.
And what should happen is they should actually have a sample of your DNA with that,
Okay.
right? Whether it's a piece of the cord or whether it's a piece of membrane or blood or whatever the case is, right? To prove that you were there, okay? So that's your live born record. After they get those, they get taken to the office and it gets transferred to a legal certified copy of your birth certificate. Now, when your birth certificate gets created, you'll notice that your surname, right, is in all capitals.
Yes.
Now, whenever you put something in capitals, again, it's style. People don't realize it. You can write an English word in all capitals and people will think it's English. Well, it may be read as English, but it's in actual fact, the style of language is, oh man, my mind's gone blank now. Dog Latin.
Okay.
Okay? So it's a style of language known as Dog Latin. Okay? And when you capitalize something, it diminishes your capacity as a living man or woman because you're incorporated.
Yep.
Okay? You're created into a corporation. And what's a corporation? A corp, right? Yeah, all in capitals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Birth certificates all in capitals too. Yep.
Right? Now notice that's new to me where the first names are in proper English, and proper English is first letter is capital and then everything else is lowercase.
Yeah.
That's proper English.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
But when it's in capitals, it's a definition, a symbolic definition that it means something else. It's a different jurisdiction.
Yeah.
That's not the living man, that's the corporation right there. Which is why when the coppers pull you over and they ask for your ID, what do? They grab the piece of plastic and they say, is that you? Well, no, I'm me.
Yeah.
That's a piece of plastic.
Exactly.
They want you to admit that identity, right, that persona, right, and what's a person, right, it's a derivative of persona, which is Latin for personage. When they used to do the plays, the people would take on a persona, somebody else. It's not them. That's what a person is, somebody else. It's not me.
Oh, what the heck? Okay.
Okay. So yeah, and that's the simple trick, right? That's the simple trick. They want you to admit that you're the corporation so that they can contract with you. They can't contract with a living woman or a living man. They can only contract with a corporation.
Okay.
Even a policeman. Yeah, I got pulled over and I was like, what's it got to do with me? I don't know what you're talking about.
I saw this.
What crime? What crime? Please provide the victim. Please show me what I've done. It's a safety regulation. So it's not a law, it's regulation.
Oh, yeah, right.
Why don't we follow laws?
Smart.
Right? Plain and simple. So he knew he couldn't get me, right? And, you know I'm playing a dangerous game, but the thing is, I didn't admit to anything. And that's the number one thing. They want you to admit. Ever notice how a copper talks to you? Oh, you're observed when this, any reason for that? Your answer is going to incriminate you.
Ah.
Yeah, okay. It's all about wordplay.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's definition, right? And I've mentioned a couple of words like child, right? By definition. So a child is an unborn heir, right? What's a percent?
Sorry, I
That's an unborn heir.
What's that last bit that you said, Haggi? Sorry.
An unborn heir.
Yes.
Right? right?
Oh,
Like,
right. But a
you're-
child has
you're-
been born.
Yeah, right. But yeah, the child has been born. The child, right?
Yeah.
The living boy or girl, but the child is an unborn heir. It's the piece of the placenta, which is nothing. And if you have a look, right, in the definition of a child, right, you'll be spun out by what it says, especially when you go to law dictionaries like Black's Law.
Black's Law Dictionary. That's a big.
Black's Law Dictionary, right? So when you use words in a court of law and you don't comprehend the definition, right, you're incriminating yourself. So you're going in there fighting for your son or daughter, and what you're actually doing is you're giving them away because you're using the word of child. Well, a child in a court of law is a ward of the state. That means you have no authority to them.
The deception.
You've just given away authority, power of attorney over your son and daughter to the state because of the definition.
Look, Haggi, we're gonna have to stop there for a bit because we've got Zoom is sort of being an asshole, and it's gonna end the meeting
Saying we've only
automatically.
got a minute left on the Zoom call, which is weird.
So,
Okay, all
can I
right.
call you back?
Yeah, look, you can most definitely do that. Sometimes I've noticed the Zoom meeting actually does continue, but
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Well,
You
we'll
know.
keep
See what
talking.
happens.
We'll see what happens.
yeah. So you've just got a new account, have you?
Yes. Yeah. We don't have Pro.
Yeah. No, that's all right. That's all right.
So that should be
That's all right.
that should be something worth investing in then if we're going to be doing this.
Yeah.
I could launch it off. I could launch it off mine and send you the saved file after if you cut out if you like, or you can just launch another meeting and send me another link.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no worries. Well, we'll continue what we were talking about. So, if a child is a ward of the
Yeah.
state, what's a kid?
Well, what's a kid?
A kid is a baby lamb. No, a baby.
Oh, did that record? It's saying no.
What?
Oh no, that's alright. That's alright. It's still recording. It's still recording. Okay, for 27. Alright, and we're back. So, what is a kid?
Okay, so a kid is a baby goat.
Okay, that's because I thought
So-
a kid was a child, like a young person.
Still, by definition, right?
Okay.
It's an animal. So what? You're harboring an animal as your offspring, as your son, as your daughter, right?
No, yeah.
So yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah,
So
interesting.
what people need to understand is he who creates owns, right? So I am the creator of my daughters and my son. I own them,
Yes.
right? Until they are of not legal but lawful age and they're smart enough to look after themselves,
Yep.
right? In the animal kingdom, it takes a year, 2 years, 3 months, right? In our kingdom, it takes years, right? And they cost a bloody packet. I had 4 of them, okay? Right?
Yes.
So, you know, it is what it is, okay?
It is what it is.
But yeah, you know, they are your property. You created them. They are your son and daughter. And in language, I don't want to get religious, right? But you got to think biblical
Yes.
because the law around the world is biblical. It's based on Bible teachings. Why do they have the Bible, right? And again, you know, something I'm going to say is you don't swear on the Bible. You don't curse on the Bible.
Oh, do you
It's
swear
goodness.
on behalf? That's what you do in court.
No,
Yeah, you swear on the
I take a
side.
note. Right? You got to think everything about the court is there designed to trick you,
Yes.
right? Right?
Yep.
What did Lucifer and his disbanded group of angels do? Right? They went against God,
Yep.
right? And they blasphemed against God.
Yep.
Ooh, right? And that's what they're asking you to do in church: blaspheme against God. Right?
Oh, true. Yes. What the heck?
Right?
My
So,
understanding,
so
my understanding, essentially, from a little bit of reading I've been doing lately, is that Satan or Lucifer has essentially created their own false reality in order to convince a man that or a woman that it is the real reality in order for them to control and take away their natural rights, the divine rights, to trick them. Yeah.
well, they used religion to control man over the generations, right? And man, and I refer to women as well, women and men,
Mankind.
right?
Yeah.
All women are men with wombs. That's why they are a woo man,
What?
right? Right.
True.
So yeah. Language is passe grammar, meaning there are parts of different words used to join together to create a different word. Right. Understand. Do you stand under my authority of what I'm telling you?
Oh,
Right?
Yeah. How
gosh.
about
They're
that?
so. Oh, wow.
They're good.
They're good.
What about
That's why coppers
Aboriginal?
always tell you, do you understand?
Mm.
Simple. As soon as you say, yes, grouse, you're under my authority. You're under my jurisdiction, so anything I say, you're screwed.
Mm.
Do you understand? Right? So yeah, that's language. Now, without getting too far off course, you asked me a very interesting thing, and again, bringing it back to language. You know, good is God, so it's just God with an extra O, right?
Okay.
And the devil is evil, which is just evil with a D, right?
Yeah.
Good.
But if you think of good and bad, right? Bad, how does that change into bad devil? No. And I thought about it, and it could be a representation of Baal, right? Because if you look at language and you look at italics, right? The D, right? You know how they do company logos and they have two letters over each other, overimposed,
Not
right?
really.
So um, it's like a P and an F,
Oh
right?
yes.
You can have you can have the P and then doing it the other way, right? The P and then the F being two different coloured lines, right, representing the F, for example,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So if you look at bad, right, and the D, that could be an A and an L, right, superimposed over each other.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just thinking. That was just an idea that I had.
Okay. Well, who is
earlier.
Baal then? Like, what? Who is this?
Well, Baal was that people in very long time ago used to sacrifice kids in order for good fortune and good harvest and prosperity and fertility.
So
right?
it's a pagan god, essentially.
So it's like a pagan god. Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's one of the earliest, kind of things that has been throughout history, and maybe to some degree, this still happens to some degree today in some parts of the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's talk about it happening in certain circles, and I'd like to
Yes.
think that it's not. But
There is a lot of people that refer to elite ritual sacrifice and magic, essentially, in order to, retain control and the fountain of life and that adrenochrome, whatever.
yeah. Well, have a look at what's been coming out about Balenciaga over the past couple of weeks.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting and concerning stuff.
Absolutely.
So
I noticed, as a side note, I noticed in Avatar 2, they killed this mega whale. The corporation killed this mega whale, and in it, they harvested this tiny little vial of serum, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, back home this is worth probably about $80 million, and it like basically stops aging."
And what was it called?
Oh,
It was a name starting with A that sounded very similar
was like
to adrenochrome.
adrenochrome or something. And
Yeah.
we're like, what the
We just
fuck?
looked at
Wow.
each other, we were like, no way.
And so, Haji, how does this tie into whoever be the controllers showing people through movies?
Well, look, once you've kind of been open to certain ideas, you see a lot of things, a lot of product placement, a lot of logos that mean multiple things, things that they say, things that they talk about. Everything is very subtle.
Yep.
But absolutely. You see, once you know and once you see, you can't unsee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Once you awaken, you can't
So-
go back to sleep.
Yeah. So like for example, I saw a recent clip, and it had to do with when the last pandemic came out, and they were saying, isn't it interesting how they were talking about fashion, right? And they had this fashion show or whatever the case was, and this model who was known as Corona with a K, right, was wearing this tartan outfit, right, all tartan, but she was risky enough to have a tartan mask as well, right, like a surgical mask, right?
Okay.
But so that was like quite a few years before, right? So they were already kind of planting the idea, right?
Oh, that was a few years ago. Okay.
That was quite a few years ago. But for me, interestingly, right, the chick Corona, when she was wearing the mask, and you had the tartan design, right over here on the cheek of the face was like the Freemason, kind of double line, crisscrossing the square and compass.
Yeah.
And you could see it clearly, and I was just like, I can't believe I didn't see it before. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's right there in your face.
Right there in your face, but
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I've never noticed it before. Now it could be accidentally coincidental. My conspiracy theorist, because I'm coming up with that. I don't know. I just noticed it. It stood out, right?
Yeah.
And there were too many coincidences about the story to not look for something else that links it to that.
True.
So, and the most brazen, and you can talk about it because it's out there. Is like what's his name? Someone Scott, one of the boyfriends of one of the Kardashian girls. He's a American black rapper.
Oh.
Something Scott.
Yeezy? No, not Yeezy.
Travis Scott.
Oh,
Travis Scott. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. So there was a lot of stuff at one of his concerts. Was it last year
No, it was this year.
or the year before? I can't remember. Yeah. Right, and some people died and all this kind of stuff. But the interesting thing was, I saw him on stage saying, everyone that's been waiting for the resurrection,
Second time.
can't remember what it's called. No, when Jesus comes back and has the big raising of all the souls. I can't remember what it's called right now. So he's basically saying, well, if you're waiting for that, looks like you're all going to hell with me, right? And there was some boos and stuff coming from the crowd, and he goes, mate, we've been trying to tell you a million times to your faces, but you just never paid attention. And then he goes into song, so he's basically telling you to your face, the truth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's crazy, the kind of stuff and how brazen they are, and exactly the thing with the Balenciaga, how is it you're very selective when you do product placement in a ad campaign, right? Because there's everything about the shoe is basically trying to say a story, is it not?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of professional photographer, right, an artist, every single little bit has to, be a little clue or part of the story,
Yeah.
And there were just too many odd things in these photos that just, I wouldn't have had that stuff there,
For example,
and
I don't know. Oh, I won't bother sharing screen, but I recommend for our viewers to look it up yourselves. Look up Balenciaga, babies, and all the there's babies covered in blood. There's just this really weird, satanic. I say that word loosely or whatever references to Baal, to child sacrifice.
yeah, 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 yeah. And why was it, like Balenciaga did some big show a little while back, and they were marching through mud.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say that. It was all dark and there was the mud and it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why were so many people, carrying baby and baby pouches, but they looked like? I mean, I didn't, Jerry to that because I didn't know who Balenciaga was when I saw it, on the news. Yeah, I watch the news to basically keep tabs on, what they're lying about, right? And I saw him marching through the mud and stuff, and I was like, what idiot? Is that, what's that supposed to be? Is that, it's not stylish, it's not classy, it's nothing. And yeah, I didn't pay attention, but they were, how you have that baby carriers on your front, on your chest.
Yeah.
A lot of them were carrying them, and I thought, why? Why? They didn't look very family orientated, let's just say.
Not the image.
So anyway.
All right. Well,
anyway.
Shall we move next into well, I'd like to know your view on say the age of Aquarius / this ascension movement, this higher vibration. What's your
golden age? The
golden age. Do you believe we're moving into one or into hell?
No, look, everything that's happening right now is totally equal, and we're already in the age of Aquarius. Everything has got to do with celestial cycles, right? Everything operates in cycles. Like, for example, it takes 72 years for the Earth to shift 1 degree on its axis, on its axle turn, right? So every 72 years, it moves 1 degree on that very small twist.
Yep.
So everything works in cycles, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, yada, 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 13 moon cycles in a year, right? Yep. X amount of years for this cycle. And basically, I think it's something like 26,000 years for a great year is what it's called, or thereabouts. And it's the procession of moving into the next age, and now it's the age of Aquarius.
Okay.
And that happened around 2012, which is when everyone was freaking out over, the Mayan calendar's ending. No, it was telling you that the cycles are coming to an end, and we're about to start a new cycle.
Hectic.
That's all.
Yep.
That's all. No biggie, right? One cycle finishes, another one starts, right? And the reason why it's all biblical is because there were many things that happened up in the stars, in the heavens, if you want to call them that, that coincide with a lot of biblical teaching. Like, for example, let's talk about the Bible for a second.
Yeah, for sure.
So when Jesus knew that he was going to be crucified, right, an interesting time that we're going through right now, because the 21st of December was our summer solstice. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the sun has reached the furthest point it appears to us in the sky, right? So it's the furthest point south, right? And then guess what? For 3 days, to the people of days gone by, it appears that the Son of God has died in the sky, because it doesn't move. It stays in the same spot. Right?
Jesus, the sun. Yeah.
And then on the third day, right, he comes back to life, right?
Oh.
And then it starts moving on its projection north, right? So that day, these days, these are the longest days of the year.
Yep.
These are the longest days of the year, these 3 days.
True.
And now, right, the days are going to start getting shorter, a few seconds every day.
Yep.
Okay, because the sun's going to start traveling, it appears to us that it's traveling to the northern hemisphere, right? So Jesus is born on the 25th, the Son of God. Yeah, we all celebrate the birth of Jesus, the Son of God, because he's come to life and he's starting to move in the sky again. Right?
Yahweh.
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's funny when you put it that way.
And at the same time, I also laugh because of, the death and the comeback to life, right? Because, right, the crucifixion, Jupiter, who is symbolically Jesus, right, to the ancient astronomers, has entered, right, the constellation of the Crux, which is the Southern Cross, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's currently crucified.
Yeah, right.
Right? Jesus is on the cross.
Jupiter, yep.
Wow.
Right? So if you have a look at a star program like, say, I don't know, Stellarium is one that I know, right? And you look up in the skies, it'll show you. Right? It'll show you where the Southern Cross is. It'll show you where Jupiter is. Type in Jupiter, right? And you'll see it. It will be within the Southern Cross, crucified.
Yep. Ah, awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for explaining.
Yeah, for 3 days.
Yep. Oh, for 3 days, and then he will be.
And then it's gone again.
Yep.
Reading out, he's off the crucifixion and he's gone into movement again.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So it's really just crazy stuff, right?
It's
and it happens every year. Yeah. Okay. So at the same time, you also got to think, right? They asked Jesus, when will you return if you're going to die? He goes, I'm going, but I'll be back. Relax. Right?
Yep.
And he goes, what did he say? Go into the marketplace, right? And wait to see the male slave go to get the pitch of water.
Okay.
Right? So back in those days, the male didn't carry the water. It was always the females.
Okay.
So they're talking about astrology. Astrologically, right? Yep. It's these times that it's said that Jesus is going to return.
Oh, you know
now,
about
is
second coming? Second coming?
Yeah, we were learning about it the other day, remember?
Yep.
Okay.
And so is it Revelations that they say that there's going to be 144,000 light warriors?
Correct.
So, okay, with that, this is quite personal, but would you consider yourself a light warrior?
Look, there's different understandings of what that means. 144 is 12 times 12, right? Yeah. So if you think about everything, because I like sacred geometry, right? Everything has got to do with numbers. There was Jesus and his 12 disciples. There's King Arthur and his 12 knights, right? America as a country didn't come together until the 13th state, being California, right? Think of Kali, the goddess Kali. Look it up, what it means.
Kali-yuga.
And Fornia, fornication, right? Right?
Oh.
Yeah, mate. So why do you think, California is Sin City, mate? City of angels.
City of fallen angels.
It's Sin City. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because of all the fornication from goddess Kali. Yeah. Okay. Goddess of war and sex. Hello. They say fertility.
Nah.
Right. They've changed fertility into the self. Yeah. Do what thou will. Right. And they serve the self. And they change something beautiful into something negative. So anyway,
it's all about
right?
I agree. It's all about perversing.
Yeah.
Anything
So
rubbish
everything
now
is
based.
numbers, right? So the 144 is 12 times 12,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
So for me, the 144 is something that's got to do with sacred geometry. And I do believe that it's got to do with raising of awareness, and energy points and certain things coming to be and pass that will raise a lot of people's individual energy and create like a network around the world. So
Awesome.
if you want to look at it like that.
Okay, that's a really
Yeah.
interesting take on it. I've never heard it. I've never heard that take on it, but I see the merit. So,
Yeah.
would you like to ask something, Enya?
I don't know. It's too much to cover. I don't know.
We haven't really even covered the
I know.
straw man
Yeah, I
concept.
know.
We need 12 hours of talking to touch the surface.
It's a thing, when we talk about so many different topics, there's so much, to kind of go into on each and every different one, that there's also different tangents, different, lines of tangibility that, you want to go down as well, because there's so much interesting information out there.
And so like I want people to see my podcast as, a line, and you can choose which tangent you want to go off and follow. Like I want it to be, just so people have awareness of the actual, that these things exist, right? That this stuff is of substance, that they can do their own research and confirm it for themselves and what they believe.
Oh, look, absolutely. There's a lot of information out there, and look, the thing is, it's when something doesn't sound right or smell right or feel right, it's okay to ask questions. It's like you go to one doctor and you don't like what they say. What do? You go and get a second opinion. It doesn't mean that the first doctor you go to, you have to trust if it doesn't sound right. Why do you go get a second opinion if you trust what the doctors are telling you? So if I'm telling you there's contrary information to what you've got, I've heard what you've got to say, right? Because I've seen it, right? And if you want to believe it, that's right. But there's other stuff that I'm happy to share with you for you to get a deeper understanding. No. So you can't help people like that.
That's true. That's my. So I'm like, I'm gonna help everyone. I'm gonna spread the word.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Look, you got to understand. Information is what it is. If they're in a happy place with what they perceive reality to be, right? Nothing you can say is going to change their point of view until they're ready to accept that maybe quite possibly there's a different option.
True.
Right? Okay. Until they're prepared to accept it.
Until they're.
It doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah, it's. I've heard something, like I've heard a bloke say, I've been getting fucked for 20 years and saying this for 20 years. It's not until they've been individually fucked, like say the vaccines. That was a big eye opener, but until that happens to you personally, that's only when you realise.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually happening right now. There's a lot of people that have been saying, they're all good and thumbs up, great. But now they're finding that it's starting to hit home, and they're kind of saying, yeah, look, it doesn't sound right. And they're coming to realise. So good for them. I just hope that they're not, or their family members or whoever they're protecting or defending aren't too harmed, because from my understanding it's not too good, and at the same time they want to introduce that same kind of conceptual type of therapy into all medication, so that you can't run away from it. So they're looking to introduce it in all vaccines now, right, to make everything mRNA based vaccines,
Well,
right?
they've injected cattle with mRNA-based vaccines as
Oh
well.
wow, great.
Yeah, and so this is I've heard a personal story. Like, don't take my word for it, but I heard from a
Yep.
friend that he had a friend that was working for a certain individual's son, like a very rich person's son, who
Yep.
was establishing cattle stations out Dorrigo way, and essentially they were organic cattle. They weren't vaccinated and everything, and so he asked, "Oh, can I buy some meat off you?" And he said, "No, it's only for our family." Because they're like, why are the elite people not going to be eating this stuff? You know, yeah, like it just begs a few questions.
Yeah, there's no common sense. You know, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Well, that's I was just a rhetorical question, like, you know, it's something to ponder. Oh,
you know, but
Zoom.
10 minutes. So you know, I totally get what you're saying. Why would you jab them if it's for yourself? Well, you know, who knows? Maybe they believe uh, um, the concept, or maybe they're just saying it to let everyone else know that they're doing it, so they should do it. You know, don't forget.
I mean, they weren't jabbing it. They weren't jabbing their own stock.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's and then he
Yeah,
asked,
that makes
"Can I have
sense.
some of your unjabbed stock?" And he said no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's exclusive stock.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to sell my stuff.
No.
I mean, to my fellow brothers and sisters, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you know, and now even the fight for pure blood is an issue. You know.
Yes. So what is that about? I've heard a lot of things about people wanting to sort of jab the pure bloods, like, you know, wreck the blue bloods or something. Do you know about that?
Or no, I'm talking about like people going in for operations and needing blood, and they're asked for unjabbed blood.
Oh, right, like
Really?
that case in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, like the case in New Zealand. Yeah, I've had a couple of instances. I was talking with some people here, and you know, they couldn't win, you know, but they needed the blood, so they took whatever, you know, they were given, you know, jabbed blood. So, you know, unfortunately, there were a couple of complications.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
You know.
And what about how they've been
So-
putting, like, nanotech, like self-assembling nanotech within the vaccine in,
That's
in your body?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't want that. Thank you. No, thank you.
No.
It all
You know.
ties into this transhumanism agenda. They're going to microchip your brain and they can remotely control that. Like, you know, if you want to go down that path, I'll do it. Just be warned, like, it's kind of a bit freaky. But yeah.
You know, it kind of reminds me of Star Trek and the Borg Collective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Resistance is futile.
That assassin.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's interesting. They have a new name for jabbed population, and it's something Borg something.
So this ties into cyborg and stuff too.
Correct.
Oh, and this goes into the intergalactic war, possibly. You know, like.
Well, it's all futuristic. You know, Star Trek. You know, you got to think about it. They've been telling you what they've been doing for the longest time. They had those communicators. They were like mobile phones, weren't they?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And there's certain aspects of it, right, that there are links through that in reality, which, you know, I'm not going to talk about beam me up, Scotty, because apparently I'm asking someone to search for it because I'm not very good with computers. But apparently there's a patent. The US Navy has a patent out for a teleportation device.
Damn.
Yeah.
I've seen patents for anti-gravity devices too.
Yeah, and that as well.
But that's amazing, and you could probably search this.
But a
patent.
teleportation device.
Wow.
I don't know how to, man. I'm not that gifted. But I know some people that are, so, you know, need to ask them to do it for me.
Yeah, no, cool. Well, that's
So,
insane. Have you
so
seen the new June, Haji?
no,
That's similar, futuristic space explorers where they need the spice for the pilots to um, sort of go in space. Anyway, it's just
yeah,
similar.
yeah. And also another one, a recent one is Jupiter Ascending. That's a very interesting one.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I remember watching that years ago. Yeah.
I'm telling you, have a look at it again with fresh eyes.
Oh,
With
okay.
your
Yeah,
eyes now, yeah.
Yeah.
with
Okay,
fresh eyes.
definitely.
Should watch it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I highly recommend you doing that. And the storyline is just
Hmm.
Cool.
they're getting ready to harvest.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember that. I was freaked out about that even back then, though. But yeah, definitely should be watching.
Right, and what's a harvest? It's just another Holocaust. What's a Holocaust? Right, it's a burnt offering.
Oh shit! Like a
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Yes.
A blood
To bow.
to bar. Ah,
Yeah.
fucking hell.
To appease the gods.
It's a,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
One way or another, either a flood or a fire.
Yeah. Well, I've said it for a very long time. Uh, um, the Third Reich hasn't died. The Fourth Reich is alive and well. They may have lost the war or the battle, but the war continues. And the way I see it at the moment, we are in times of war. The opposition has been using silent weapons for quiet wars, and the weapon has been the media and TV, and they've been using psyops and mental game plans to control us through things like Operation Mockingbird, which is controlled media information that gets printed. So basically, the CIA would tell the media what they can and can't talk about, and the agenda that they will kind of impose on any story. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Very interesting.
So
God, all juicy
so
stuff.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's why I don't trust the media. It's very interesting down here. We've got Channel 9, who's just done a recent media advertising campaign on it's an honor and privilege to share the news with them, because what they're actually doing is they're sharing history in the making. Every day is history,
Yes.
and they've got to be first, and they've got to be truthful and honest. And to me, it sounds like they're shitting their pants. Because why would you can't say, truthful and honest and it's privileged, and, when all of this stuff, there's a lot of information coming out that the media's been lying to the people all around the world.
Yes. And if people want alternative media, I recommend, be careful, but I recommend Rumble, BitChute, and download Telegram and join
Yeah,
information channels on there.
yeah. Even places like Truth Social, but even Twitter has become very interesting of late.
Okay.
There's a lot of information coming out on there with a lot of drops. A lot of information. Elon's been going through the Twitter files and releasing all of the background stuff that they've been doing, all the dodgy stuff with FBI telling them who to silence, who to censor, who to. It is very interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, look, Haji, we've got just under 2 minutes left, so we probably should wrap up soon.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure sharing. Good luck with your podcast. And yeah, by all means, hats off to you. I said it earlier. It took me 49 years to catch on to the lie of words and child and driving and all that kind of stuff. And I live every day in paradise because I don't live in that fictitious world, and I don't have to do things because you just don't have to do anything. Yeah, you do what you basically feel like doing, as long as you're not hurting anyone or doing anything wrong. Life's great.
Do no harm.
Yeah. So
Oh,
hats
epic.
off to you that you guys are less than half my age and doing that. Good on you.
Thanks, Haggi. We'll definitely have to get you back on another time, go more in depth into stuff.
Yeah, you're very knowledgeable.
But we
Cool. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Awesome. You take care, guys.
You too. Take care.
See ya.
All the best.